Welcome back to It's Useful to Know. I'm Madeline Gambino, the host of this series. Today we're speaking with Dr. Judith Weisenfeld.
I think it would be useful for people to know that the term cult is actually not a useful characterization for religious groups that may fall outside of the mainstream. I think people have associations with it. When they say something is a cult, it signals that these are inherently unbelievable theologies, that the authority of the leader is questionable, that the rationality of the members is suspect, right? In ways that are beyond what you take to be religion, right? So one shorthand that some colleagues of mine who work in this field as well say is that, you call something, when you call it a cult, it's really just a religion you don't like or you don't believe. To call it a cult doesn't reveal anything about the contents of the theology. It doesn't help us understand why people were drawn to it. And it doesn't help us understand what kept people in it, why they were devoted to it. It's a term that has often a racialized history in the American context, that kind of othering and questioning of the authenticity of a religion. One cluster I was really interested in the 1920s and 1930s was a set of groups in which people said that this racial category we are in, that has been ascribed to us, Negro at the time, is false. It is created by white Americans to oppress us. These groups come up with different answers in ways that link race to religion. And so they say, we're not Negroes, and therefore we're not really Christians in the way that we thought we were. We are, and the Nation of Islam, they would say, we're Asiatic Black people. The Moorish Science Temple talked about Moorish Muslim identity as the true identity of Black people. There are groups of Black Jews who think about themselves as Ethiopian Hebrews, as of the lost tribes. I was interested in those questions about religion and race and faced the problem in writing about these groups that they had just been characterized in all of the literature as cults and sects. And I was struggling with this problem I set out at the beginning of, well, if we call them that what does that tell me about the groups, and what does it make it hard for me to understand? I ditched that as a way of talking about them and really wanted to think about why at this moment in American history did these groups rise, and what work were they trying to do that drew people to them and kept people there long after the charismatic leaders died and so on. So I call them religio-racial movements just because in these groups, this question of how religion and race are related really was the central concern. And that's a move that I hope people can mobilize, not to call other groups religio-racial movements, but to ask about any of these new groups. What are they doing? Why? Why does this thing emerge at this time? What it shows just really broadly for religious studies is that religion is not a stable term, that there's not something out there that we know to be religion that we just kind of pull down and investigate, but that it's being negotiated in different ways at different times for different people. We never reach a point where we all decide, okay, this is what religion is. There are deep investments in defining religion in relation to what people think it means to be American. So even though people might say, well, there is separation of church and state in America, and there is the free exercise of religion, therefore religion is not really entangled with American nationhood or politics, right? We know that's not true. But this is one way we really see it's not true. To have freedom of religion, you have to have a religion. Your thing has to be recognized